Country roads, take me home to the place where I belong, West Virginia. Welcome in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. I am your host, Damon Fairall. That's my boy Kevin over there. Preston Keys, the utility man, they call him.
The KJ Lewis of podcasting, some might say.
Just plays his role, just does his job. That's what it's all about here. And of course, the Arizona Wildcats get that dub on the road in Morgantown, 75-56 against the West Virginia Mountaineers. What a weekend what a week for the Wildcats. I mean, a couple road ranked W's in a row. Wildcats improved to 3-0 in the Big 12 Conference, maintained that first place spot. Kevin, how we feeling?
Man, Damon, I feel incredible right now. I am all the way turned up after that huge West Virginia W over West Virginia. In West Virginia is what I meant to say there. But no, I'm fired up, ready to talk about this huge victory. We got a lot of positives to talk about in this game. I know I have a lot of good things to say. Nothing's perfect, obviously, but this was one of the more complete performances that Arizona has put together all season, and it couldn't have come at a better time when you're trying to get that second quad one dub, which they did. And now we can start talking about March again, the month of my birthday, the month of Arizona basketball. Let's talk about it, Damon.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, 5 wins in a row now for the Wildcats. And like you mentioned, I mean, you got a 9-point win against TCU where you kind of let the Horned Frogs get back into that basketball game. Same thing with Cincinnati, only won by 5, obviously was leading pretty much the entire game. But this West Virginia game was different, Kevin. They controlled this game throughout. They never really let up and allowed West Virginia to go on that big run to close it up. There was that portion in the early second half where West Virginia nailed 3 3-pointers in a row and got the game within 5 points. But other than that, Arizona really responded well. And I was just really pleased to see what I saw tonight from Tommy Lloyd's team.
Oh, 1,000%. I think, you talked to the recent stretch that Arizona has been having, right? Our friend Brian Peterson tweeted out tonight that Arizona trailed for only 5 minutes and 34 seconds out of 80 minutes in road wins over number 16 Cincinnati and number 21 West Virginia, Damon. You cannot have a better time than right now to get right. And I think the great Erica L. Day is in the chat. Her and I were discussing earlier how this team just looks different than the team that they were before Christmas, before the holidays, and the adjustments are out there. They're obvious, the changes that have been made. And yeah, I think, you spoke to the run in Arizona not letting West Virginia get back in the game like they did versus Cincinnati. The West Virginia tried. You and I were in here. Arizona was up about 15-14. West Virginia got that lead back down to what, about 5, something like that. Yeah. And we were talking about it. Well, here goes another second half lead that Arizona might squander, and they didn't. And that's huge to see the 9-0, 12-2 overall run as a response from the punch of West Virginia. You know that when you're up big on the road, the home team's not just going to cower away. They're going to come out in the second half and punch you in the mouth. And so I think seeing Arizona respond consistently to being punched in the face is a great thing.
Yeah, Tommy Lloyd talked about right before that Christmas break, right? Just getting this team kind of cohesive together, making them, want to play together and become more of that unit, because it wasn't really fitting on like a puzzle like it is right now in that opening 6 games of the season there. So I think that Christmas break, like you mentioned, I think it really did this team a lot of good, right? Like they obviously look incredible post-Christmas and are playing some pretty legit teams as well in the process. Hard to not be pumped about what we've seen out of Arizona recently.
Well, you spoke to what Tommy Lloyd said, his message to the squad before the holiday break. What did he say in that press conference? He said, "Get hungry, come back, hungry. We want a hungry basketball team.
Yeah.
And Damon, it looks like that the players heeded his advice, went home, refocused, reshifted, came back hungry and ready to fight for these games. And we're seeing it. By God, we're seeing it.
Yeah, they do look hungry for sure, especially when you're watching them play defense. I feel like when they're ISO'd up, like a good example of that is that end of half possession, right, for West Virginia, where KJ Lewis just locks in, and he's pressing up high, creating a lot of ball pressure, making the other team make mistakes, and then afterwards treating it like he just hit a buzzer beater that got them out of half like that. But that's the intensity that you love to see. When you treat a defensive stop the same as hitting like a buzzer-beating 3 at the end of a half, I mean, that just shows how locked in you are as a team defensively. Carter Bryant was doing the same thing. I saw in a couple possessions where he was just getting super amped up, locking dudes down. And this team, I think in particular, has a little bit more of that defensive identity than we've seen from a lot of past Arizona Tommy Lloyd teams in particular. It seems like they lock in on that side of the floor a lot more than, like I said, like teams that, like the I wouldn't say the Benedict Mathurin Christian Coloco team, but maybe the two teams that have come after that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from this stretch is, maybe not the biggest thing, but the most important thing from this stretch is that Arizona's defense has never wavered during this stretch. The defense has been there. It's been suffocating the entire time. The defense has looked connected for the most part, which is a huge deal as well, because when the Cats were struggling, it was a disconnected defense that would allow teams to get these runs going and start snowballing down the mountain against Arizona. But tonight, Damon, Arizona's offense, I thought, obviously it went through some droughts. I think I said this on Twitter, but far too many droughts of 2 minutes and 30 seconds plus without a bucket for Arizona in this game. And that's not to take anything away from the defense that they face. West Virginia is a good defensive unit, but
damn good.
But if you're going to continue to be undefeated in this conference, you cannot have too many 2.5 minute droughts on offense. You have to, on the other side of that, if you are forcing 4+ minute droughts, but then also at the same time having a 30-minute drought, it doesn't really help your case as much. So I think the offense has to help the defense, because the defense has been elite for a while now.
Yeah, you got to nullify those scoring droughts, absolutely. But just love what you see from that defensive side of the ball in terms of work rate and whatnot. Another thing you love to see, KJ Lewis, 21 points. Crazy. How many? Hit on the screen for a second, Kevin. How far into the show are we? 7 minutes and 49 seconds into the show, and no KJ Lewis mention yet. Feels almost sacrilegious, but KJ Lewis, career night, 21 points, huge game for him, and just getting that confidence back, right? Like KJ was really struggling. We had a skyrocket expectations for that guy when coming into this season. We all assumed that he was gonna, kind of take the reins and be one of the 2 to 3 best players probably on this roster, and it hadn't happened for him yet. He had been really struggling, and ever since that little role switch, Kevin, he's been really, really good. But 21 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists tonight, 2 steals and a block. Only 1 personal foul, which I think is pretty low for KJ Lewis and the amount of on-ball reps he's getting as a primary defender in terms of guarding the other opposing team's best player. You just got to love what you see out of KJ tonight.
Yeah, no, I was loving watching KJ Lewis play out there. I had it noted at the half that Lewis is just quietly balling. Like he I feel like KJ Lewis is the kind of player where he plays so well within the Tommy Lloyd system sometimes that he might have like 15 points at the time, and you're just like, oh, KJ Lewis has 15. It just kind of happens. Like he keeps making good play after good play.
His
and all
buckets
of a sudden,
they're not exactly like the flashiest all the time. It's a lot of like backdoor cuts, people finding
smart,
him.
Within the system. And that's what he did tonight. 9 for 13 shooting, Damon. An extremely efficient 21 points. He also had 3 rebounds and 4 assists. I mean, we could just reveal our player of the game now if you want.
Why don't we just do it?
It's KJ Lewis, y'all. 21, 4, and 3 tonight. He was absolutely incredible for the Arizona Wildcats. And like you spoke to, a player that people expected more from coming into the year, but he's starting to look like the KJ Lewis that we thought that he was this entire time.
Yeah, KJ Lewis getting a much, much deserved player of the game there. Really couldn't go to anybody else, right? I mean, other people had good games. Jaden Bradley had a really good game. Not Caleb Love's strongest game. ADO showed out, had one of his better games in an Arizona uniform. And then Henri Veesaar, right? He just continues to kind of provide that spark from the front court that this team needs. And he clearly is the best big man on this roster now.
He is, but I sorry to divert here. I want to stay on this KJ Lewis topic for a second because Sean brings up a great point that KJ Lewis has not been getting those stupid texts. Now,
Absolutely.
I'm not really here to talk about the text, but I am here to talk about his body language. KJ Lewis is a very expressive player with his body language, and in the first, we're going to talk about his comparison here in a second, but in the first, X amount of games of the season, his body language was pretty negative, pretty frustrated, almost constantly in these games, and I think that he looks like there's a weight of the world lifted off his shoulder recently. Not to get super dramatic, but I'm saying he just looks like he's more at peace when he's playing the game. He's more focused on winning. He's not focused on if the ref made a bad call or, if he had a turnover 2 possessions ago. I think we're seeing a more focused KJ Lewis out there and a less emotional KJ Lewis, which is a great thing for Arizona.
Yeah, no doubt about it. KJ has definitely it does feel like, like he's just a little bit, maybe he's taking it on the chin, this how this role change and the publicity around his demise. I don't really want to call it that for lack of a better term,
slump.
but
He had a little
his
sophomore
slump. That's a good word for it. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's really taken it to heart, right? It seems like he's responded to it well. And this is exactly the type of game from KJ Lewis that, we're going to need in the tournament, because not only was he just straight up really good, but his bag was deep tonight. He was hitting like deep mid-range jump shots, that you don't really see him taking all that often. Like we talked about, a lot of times he's more of a backdoor cut, high percentage shot type of guy. But tonight I really thought he was kind of ISOing it up, putting the ball on the floor and making some really, really good moves to get baskets. I don't know if you felt the same way, but that's what I saw.
I agree. And I think, not Caleb Love, but KJ Lewis scoring 21 points in this game, I think is also a byproduct of what Arizona had been trying to do all night, which was get downhill. Like we talked about it on Monday's show yesterday, that I felt that if Arizona could get downhill, get into the paint in this game, they would have a much easier time at finding a victory than if they sought the outside shot. Because if you look at the bigs tonight for West Virginia, they did not have they didn't do anything. With respect to them, they didn't do anything to contribute to a victory tonight for West Virginia.
They don't really have bigs.
They don't. The one big they have, Eduardo Andre, only played 14 minutes. He had 2 fouls early in the game, causing him to sit for a while. It wasn't effective in the paint, and Arizona took full advantage of that. And I think a player like KJ Lewis relishes games where he can be physical, get down low, power his way to the hoop. Because that's the kind of offensive player he is, Damon.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of going to be an insane comparison, so just roll with me here for a second. But what you just said right now, like with the lack of rim protection and the way that KJ Lewis, his athleticism and how he can get to the basket, reminds me a little bit of like back in the day, right? When LeBron would be like, do you remember when like Roy Hibbert? They'd be like, you need a Roy Hibbert to stop LeBron. Like you need a big post presence that's gonna deter a guy from slashing and taking it straight to the rim like that. So I think that when Arizona plays a team that doesn't have that rim presence, that's a really, really good matchup for an Arizona, right? Like you have Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley, KJ Lewis, who can all get to the rim with ease. You have a Henri Veesaar,
looked great,
like a guy who just flies to the basket, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like we thought we were getting this Henri when he committed to Arizona. I remember watching highlights of Henri Veesaar when he committed to Arizona, just putting it on dudes' heads. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is hella athletic. He's like, I'm serious. Like it was crazy to watch like a big man that could move like that. He shows up on campus and he just wasn't that dude.
Yeah, no,
and it was baffling, to be honest with you. And then it just goes to show these guys that come over from Europe in particular, big men in particular, sometimes they just need a little bit of time to just ingratiate themselves to the speed of the game. And it seems like Henri Veesaar that year off last year, I mean, he's playing at an entirely different level.
Yeah, I mean, Damon, Henri Veesaar caught the most despicable of bodies tonight. That dunk,
That poor man.
where I believe it was actually Andre that would try to jump with him. Don't quote me on
He
that.
has a family,
Kevin.
Yeah,
the man has a family, and for Henri Veesaar to literally toss him into the basket with the ball is unbelievable to me. You and I were losing our heads, losing our minds. Get out of your mind is how we felt when Henri Veesaar threw that into the hoop. That was an insane dunk.
We were going crazy in here.
Not to even mention the first half dunk, which came off an alley-oop from Carter Bryant. There was a dunk in the first half that Henri Veesaar had where you're like, oh, that's an awful oop from Carter Bryant. And then Veesaar just locates it and slams it. And I'm like, this is a different Henri Veesaar than we have ever seen before. Shane, he dunked him into the stanchion. Go back and watch it. It was incredible.
Literally put him under the basket, Shane. It was
sat
unbelievable.
Him down, said, here, take a little siesta under the hoop and think about your actions for jumping with Henri Veesaar. Never do it again.
Dude, he goes up with a purpose. Like it's so much different than like any other. Toby Awaka isn't doing anything like that. And you know,
he had a decent night tonight.
Yeah, Toby was okay tonight. I mean, didn't do a whole lot, but 7 rebounds for Toby, had a block, a couple assists for him, only 1 for 4 shooting, but it's like Toby's more of just like a guy who's going to run the floor and, you know, maybe give you a couple fouls a game and get physical with guys. Like, it really feels like Henri Veesaar is a legitimate difference maker for this team, with his passing ability, with his blocking ability. Like 3 blocks for Henri tonight, 5 stocks. This guy has just been playing an unreal level of basketball recently. We're going to talk a little bit more about Henri Veesaar. We're going to get into those stats from tonight's game, of course, right after this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Well, Damon, not much goes better with a nice Arizona Wildcats victory than a neutral, my friend. Now, Damon, I know we're going to talk a little bit about neutral here in this read, but just off top, what's your favorite neutral flavor?
You know, you were talking about the pineapple the other day. I think I'm kind of with you. I feel like I'm an island boy.
He's ready for the beach. He's ready to celebrate an Arizona victory because this is a public service announcement for all of our hard seltzer lovers. Neutral hard vodka seltzer has arrived. It's made with simple ingredients like vodka, seltzer, and real juice. None of that artificial flavoring and fluff that you get in the other seltzers. Neutral is as light and refreshing as a seltzer can be, and we'll show you what it really can mean to drink a vodka seltzer, right, Damon? Like, you know, it's hard to find a good hard seltzer these days.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Like the real vodka, real juice thing is like a legitimate gripe that people have because you have some of these other seltzer brands and like they can't even tell you what it is. No. You're like, what's in here? And they're like malt. Nasty.
They have alcohol in there.
I want to drink the real stuff.
Yeah, you want to drink a neutral. That's why you should keep it tasty, Tucson. Neutral 2024 Anheuser-Busch flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri. Enjoy responsibly, though, if you're because we should be celebrating this Arizona Wildcats dub, but celebrate responsibly, y'all.
Yeah, that's a damn fact, Kevin. Get yourself a DD. Be smart about your drinking, but definitely drink with neutral. Definitely get yourself a Branded Bills hat. I got this bad boy on right now. Most comfortable hat I own. Got that PHNX hat.
Ooh,
we got
that thing's clean.
3 PHNX styles. And if you don't have one of these guys, if you're an Arizona fan, you don't got that state flag, you don't got that bear down. I mean, they got all the different combos over at Branded Bills. Stuff that you can't beat. And of course, they're going to help you elevate your brand as well. If you just want some custom stuff, like you got a softball team, you got a law office, law firm, any type of team that we're talking here, Branded Bills is going to be able to take your logo, put it on their merch, like I said, most comfortable hat I own, and brand it up for you, make it look real nice and spiffy. And of course, when you use our promo code PHNX, you're going to save 20% off your first order. That's 20%, Kevin. Just a nice 5th off for you right there. So whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills got you covered. They got partnerships with Arizona, of course. They got partnerships down at McHale, down at Arizona Stadium. You're going to want to look at those. Local company from Mesa, Arizona. They love their cats as well. So make sure you head on to brandedbills.com. Use PHNX, that promo code for 20% off that first order. All right, Kevin, mentioned it. We got some stats to get into. Why don't we go ahead and look at those numbers presented by our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union, the Valley's #1 credit union. Arizona with a 19-point victory against West Virginia, 75-56. They shoot better from the field, 51 to 36% for West Virginia. Better from three by 7%, 35% for the Wildcats. So just about where you'd like to see that three-point percentage. West Virginia obviously struggled from that range without their best three-point shooter, Tucker DeVries, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. Arizona getting that assist total back up to that 15 number that we've talked about, Kevin. Only 8 in that last game, almost doubled that output tonight. As we talked about, definitely a number that Arizona is going to have to kind of hover around if they're going to want to be successful this season. Can't have many more of those 8 assist performances when you're playing against high level Big 12 basketball teams, and then winning the turnover margin as well, which is a thing that Arizona has somewhat struggled with all season long. So definitely good to see there. Kevin, what do you take away from those stats?
Obviously, I think you pointed out some of the more obvious things with those stats. I think there are some underlying stats that really showcase what went Arizona's way in this game. There are 2 that stick out to me in particular: bench points and points in the paint. Arizona's bench outscored West Virginia's bench 34-10 in tonight's contest, Damon.
That'll do
24-point differential from the bench scoring from Arizona to West Virginia. Now, we knew West Virginia did not have a lot of depth on that team, but when you do go up against a team that doesn't have a lot of depth, you have to take advantage of that, and Arizona did tonight. And also, the points in the paint. Arizona, 36, West Virginia, 22. Arizona was getting to the rim at will. Make sure they got paint touches on every possession, it seemed like. And that's just fundamentally good, sound basketball. And that's how you have to win in these Big 12 games, Damon. It's a big deal. In the first half, Arizona's bench, Damon, was a plus 25. Plus 25. So the bench dominated for Arizona tonight. Really, really helped the Cats get that victory.
Plus 25 in a single half is nuts, especially for a 3-man rotation on the bench.
Yeah.
In Henri, Veesaar, Carter Bryant, and KJ Lewis. But yeah, I want to get back to that kind of starter versus bench discussion that we've been having ad nauseum. When you have Toby Awaka only scoring 2 points, you have Trey Townsend only scoring 5 points. Then you have Caleb Love struggling, right? 3 for 10 shooting, not his best night tonight, only 9 points. Right there, you're getting a combined 16 points from your number 1 scorer and your entire front court. When that's happening, the only recipe for success is getting good bench numbers. And man, has this bench come on recently. Like this, they just continue to show up game in and game out. KJ Lewis, Carter Bryant, Henri Veesaar clearly belong in the best lineup that this team can put out on the floor. I'm not saying they need to start, as we've been talking about, but you needed this kind of jump from your bench tonight, and really all season long, if this is going to continue to be the starting 5.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that and this is kind of what we spoke to when we're trying to figure out why maybe some of the bench players aren't starting for Arizona. We discussed this on yesterday's pod, but maybe it's a rotational thing. Maybe you want the bench unit to come in and eat against your opponent's bench that might not be as strong as what Arizona is offering in the depth category. Like I think there is something to that when a Henri Veesaar or Carter Bryant is platoon swapped into the game, things look totally different for Arizona and for Arizona's opponent by proxy, because if you're trying to defend in Arizona that looks a certain way and then they're switching it with your bench and it looks a totally different way, that's hard to defend. And so I think that, honestly, Damon, I think the bench is by far the reason Arizona won this game today. And I think that, no, we don't necessarily have to start everyone off the bench, right? But I do think there is a credence to having your role and succeeding in your role. Like KJ Lewis coming off the bench, Damon, is a different beast than KJ Lewis in the starting lineup. I don't know why, but it seems that way.
I mean, he definitely has played a lot better off the bench since that switch got made, Kevin. We actually have a quick comparison for you for that as far as that goes. As a starter in the first 6 games of the season, KJ Lewis averaged 9.5 points per game, 1.7 assists, 5.2 rebounds on 40% shooting. And as the team goes 500 with a 3-3 record there. And then, of course, as KJ Lewis has started to come off the bench in these last 8 games, he's got an uptick of 2 points per game at 11.5 points per game, doubled that assist per game total. A lot of heavy lifting is being done by that 8 assist game there, Kevin, but he didn't have any 8 assist games.
That's true.
In the starting lineup.
That's a fact.
Still goes to show. Down on those rebounding numbers, that's interesting, something that we'll talk about here in a second. And then, of course, that record 6-2. But the biggest thing here, and the biggest difference is that field goal percentage. He goes from 40.4% in the first 6 games to 59% in the last 8 games. Just goes to show that, you know, even though we expected big things out of him, and you know, he hadn't been, you know, hitting it as a starter as much as we'd have loved to have seen KJ Lewis. He really is turning this season around. Like, this is 60% field goal percentage as a wing is no joke.
No, none at all. And I think, you know, you're speaking to maybe why his rebounding numbers might be down. That might just be a personnel thing, because if you're starting, that means you're playing alongside of Trey Townsend and Tobe Awaka. You know what I mean? And there are just more rebounds to be had when you're playing alongside of Tobe Awaka and Trey Townsend, respectfully, than when you're playing next to a Henri Veesaar, per se. So I think overall, KJ Lewis has become the KJ Lewis that we thought he could be coming into this season, now that he's gone back to his normal bench role. I don't think that it's, you know, he can't play if he starts and he can play if he comes off the bench. I think this might just be KJ Lewis fighting through his sophomore slump, realizing a familiar role and catching fire and getting his rhythm back. And I think that that's the biggest thing for KJ Lewis. Whether he starts, whether he's benched, it doesn't really matter. But just having him in rhythm, having him look confident in his game, huge for the Cats, huge for KJ Lewis.
I'm with you. Like, I don't think that this is as much like, oh, I'm on the bench now and the pressure's off me and I can just let loose and play a lot better. I think this is way more a situation of just water finding its level, right? Like, KJ Lewis is not the player that he showed in the first, 6 games of this season. I think it just coincides with the role change and maybe that just kind of sparked it. But it also, this, like I said, not a situation where, like, being a bench player just makes KJ Lewis automatically better. He was always going to figure it out eventually. He's a good basketball player. But I'm glad that Tommy and his finagling of the lineup kind of found that option for him. And honestly, like, that's the one guy where, even though, we've talked about our best lineup includes KJ Lewis, Carter Bryant, Henri Veesaar, that's the one guy there that I actually am, like, pretty staunchly, like, keep him in that role. He's off the bench, I don't care personally about him starting, just play him 30 minutes a game. But those other two guys, I would definitely be a lot more inclined to maybe put them in that starting lineup over the Trey Townsends and the Tobe Awakas of the world.
I agree. And you spoke to KJ Lewis's minutes, that his minutes did not change pretty much at all when he went to the bench. So it's kind of just a change in title only, in time, that you check into the game for the first time. That's really the main difference, is, I feel like, on its face for KJ Lewis here, because if you're playing the same amount of minutes that you were when you were a starter, does it really matter if you're a starter or not? I mean, yeah, and AJ Future Coach puts it best here. He looks aggressive again, and it's when KJ Lewis is aggressive. We spoke to this earlier on this same episode here. It makes Arizona's system a lot easier to play in.
Good things happen.
Yes, you have that metronome, so to speak, that KJ Lewis is going to bring it on defense and he's going to play his role on offense. And if he can find 21 points within the offense, great. If not, and he ends up with 3 stocks and 4 rebounds and 2-3 assists, great too. So I want to see an aggressive KJ Lewis, a focused KJ Lewis, and a KJ Lewis that's just ready to contribute.
Yeah, I want to talk about those minutes a little bit, Kevin. KJ Lewis, 26 minutes tonight, tied for second on the team with Henri Veesaar and Caleb Love, who obviously wasn't really feeling it tonight.
Oh, Caleb Love played? He played tonight. Okay.
Caleb Love, 26 minutes, pretty low for Caleb Love, right?
Well, Tommy sat him for a while in
I
this
think
game.
It goes to show that he just really was not having a great game. The leading minute getter on this team, Jaden Bradley, 37 minutes played out of a total of 40 minutes, Kevin. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable. He had a really good game, 6 for 10 shooting for Jaden Bradley tonight. But 37 minutes and 40 minutes of play is no joke at all.
Yeah, Jaden Bradley, I feel like, he's becoming so consistently good that when he plays 37 minutes and has 15 points and 5 assists and 4 rebounds, and I'm not going to even speak to his defense, I'm like, oh yeah, Jaden Bradley. That was a Jaden Bradley game, which is not to take away from what he's done, but it's a credit to how consistent Jaden Bradley has been this season for Arizona. We spoke to KJ Lewis being the metronome, but if KJ Lewis is the metronome, Jaden Bradley is the stage that the band plays on, because Jaden Bradley has been the steadying hand for Arizona all year.
Yeah.
Jaden Bradley has been the consistent variable for Arizona all year. And I think Jaden Bradley is he one of the most underrated players in the conference, Damon?
I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not going to flash off the screen at you, averaging 11.5 points per game, 3 assists. Like, that's not going to, for a point guard, that's not going to make people, open their eyes and be like, wow, this guy's incredible. But we know as Arizona fans that Jaden Bradley night in, night out gives you exactly what you need. He's incredibly consistent. You're not getting a lot of like bad Jaden Bradley games, right? Like he's just a dog, Kevin. He's literally a dog. And I love watching Jaden Bradley play. I really do. Definitely need Jaden Bradley to just give you that consistency all season long for if this team is going to be successful. But it kind of brings up the question, and this just popped in my head right now. He's the best player on this team, I would say, right now. Like Caleb Love projected to be the best player on this team, but so far through 15 games or whatever the team's played, like I think 14 games, Jaden Bradley is this team's best player.
I agree.
It's kind of a weird thing, though, I think, with Tommy Lloyd and his teams that he's had at Arizona, where I feel like there's been a way more clear-cut best player on the roster essentially every single year. And this year, it feels like a lot of, hey, we got a lot of guys that are around the same level. Anyone could pop off on any given night. And that kind of balance, I think, makes it, while it may be like on paper going into the season, it kind of felt like it limited the ceiling of this team. I think that balance makes this team extremely dangerous because you don't know if Henri Veesaar is going to give it to you. You don't know if Caleb Love's going to give it to you. You don't know if KJ Lewis is going to give it to you. I really think that's like a big positive that this team has to kind of work on down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think when you speak to how Arizona has this offense that can get hot from any different stovetop, in there, so to speak, I think that it's and we spoke about it. I think it's less of a note to you than it was to me. But the last 2 games, bro, Caleb Love has been missing for the most part. Now, I think last game he played more of a two-way role. Like, I don't want to totally discount that. I think last game he played good defense and wasn't just like out there. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but tonight was kind of a night where, like, I joked earlier. I was like, did he get caught in the snow? Like, did he like, was it a DeAndre Ayton situation? Like, was he at home playing 2K and then he was like, oh, like, shoot, I gotta go to the airport, and then he went to look at the driveway and it was ice. Like, maybe that's what happened, bro. Because 9 points on 3 of 10 for Caleb Love, 1 for 5 from 3, not good enough. But that's not going to happen every night. And if Arizona can weather the storm, so to speak, of Caleb Love not showing up on offense, having 1 for 5 from 3 nights in conference, that to me makes Arizona very dangerous, which I think alludes to the point that you were just making about KJ Lewis and Jaden Bradley. Like, I think we don't, as fans, Arizona doesn't need Caleb Love to drop 25 plus to win, clearly based on the last 2 games. Would it help Arizona be consistent in this conference? 1,000%. But it's a very encouraging sign to see. I know this sounds crazy, but it's a very encouraging sign to see Caleb Love struggle, but Arizona also win.
Yeah, I guess just to kind of reiterate my point, like I think last year for sure, like if Caleb Love was having a bad game like this, I'm not sure that Arizona finds a way to win. If a couple years ago, Ben Matherin's having a bad game, does Arizona win? If Tabellis a couple years ago has a bad game, does Arizona win? But this team, it really feels different to me. Like I think it's definitely a kind of a system right now where you have 8 guys, they're all contributing. Maybe only like Toby Awaka from a scoring standpoint is really not pulling his weight out of that 8-man rotation. Like everybody else is giving you at least a few buckets a night. And yeah, I mean, I love this like kind of kill him from all angles type of situation we got going on here. One interesting note here, Kevin, Arizona moves up to 12th in KenPom rankings after tonight's W.
Huge, actually.
Yeah, 14th in offensive rating, 22nd in defensive rating. So that defensive rating kind of just keeps slowly popping down, but that offensive rating has really skyrocketed in the last couple weeks here. 12. They have us as the 12th best team in the country, just below Illinois and our old friend Kylan Boswell. something to monitor. Definitely a game that I would love to get matched up with in the tournament, just to kind of hash out some old feelings. But
what old feelings, Damon? I said I wasn't going to spy on any exes. We're not
you
spying
said
on.
that.
Yeah,
Again,
I said that.
Yeah, again,
So
like we
I
did
don't
our
know
own
what we're talking about.
resolutions. You said that. I didn't say anything. I'm spying on my exes. All I want, and I'm like rooting on their downfall. Rooting on it.
I respect it. I respect it.
Yeah,
Damon.
absolutely. We got a lot more hate to get out here on the AZ Wildcats podcast right after this break.
Well, Damon, Arizona is returning home on Saturday to play UCF. But if you're looking to buy a home, the Carol Royce real estate team is family owned and locally operated with 3 generations of family members serving the Valley of the Sun. Carol and her team have an unbeatable track record, having sold over 12,000 homes. It's a lot of homes.
Does that number do anything for you?
Yeah, I think 12,000 is a lot
12K?
more than 12K is insane. I'm not gonna lie. That's all across the valley, though, not just in one spot. It's all across the valley that Carol Royce is providing homes for you. And choosing the right agent to buy a home is a huge decision, because this person is helping you decide where you and possibly your family is going to lay your head for the next X amount of years, right? So you want that person to really be willing to help you with any issues you may have. But the most important thing is Carol Royce's agents will give you a written guarantee, Damon. Whether or not you made the right choice, while many agents make big promises, Carol Royce will make guarantees. Buyers, you can rest easy knowing you're not just making the right choice. You're making a guaranteed one. Love your home, or Carol Royce will buy it back. Damon, that's insane. And hey, if you're looking to buy your dream home, you've probably been looking on Zillow or Realtor.com. But did you know that with Carol Royce, you have access to thousands of off-market homes, like the ones you can't see on those other sites? And yeah, if like I said, if you're looking to buy a home in 2025, the name to trust is Carol Royce, and that is CarolRoyceTeam.com. Carol Royce, ROYSE team.com.
From one insane insurance policy on buying your home to another, Kevin. Our friends at Shady Rays just have the craziest protection policy in all of eyewear. It's unbelievable what they got going on over there. They're an independent sunglasses company, not owned by some massive corporation like some of maybe more of the name brands per se that you have out there. And they're a product that's been rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. So it's not just some like gimmicky startup. They're a legit company. They've been around for a while.
300,000 is a lot of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like 12,000 homes is a lot of homes. 300,000 people wearing your sunglasses and rating them. That's quite a bit. I got my Shady Rays in my car, wear them every day, love them. Polarized sunglasses for a really affordable price. I mean, Kevin, we're talking like $50 for a pair of like really, really high quality sunglasses. You can't beat that deal like anywhere else. They always got discounts going on. They always got like crazy BOGO deals right now. If you use our code PHNX, you're going to get 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. 35% off. That's just a wild discount there. And of course, you're going to want to try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. So take advantage of that policy. Take advantage of the best protection in eyewear. You lose those sunglasses, you break them, you hit up Shady Rays with your order number. Email their customer service. They're going to send you a brand new spanking pair, Kevin, just for your troubles. You can't beat that anywhere in eyewear. I mean, I'm losing my sunglasses, breaking them all the time, but I don't got to worry about it anymore with Shady Rays. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out their best deal of the season. Promo code PHNX for 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. Try it for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Damon, we have a tip of the hat to give out, right? We do have a tip of the hat to give out here pretty soon. I'll give mine and then you will give yours. But I think that, before we give out this tip of the hat presented by Branded Bills, some of the most comfortable headwear in all of headwear, period. You know what I mean? You can't beat it at all. Damon, I think my tip of the hat is going to go to Anthony Dell'Orso. Anthony Dell'Orso, ADO. Let me break it down for you, right? I'm going to start with Caleb Love, and we're going to circle back around to how ADO is our tip of the hat, okay? Because Caleb Love puts up 9 points. We already talked about how his shooting percentage is on 27 minutes and just a +6, okay? Now, we're talking about how Arizona has guards that can pick up the slack, like Jaden Bradley or KJ Lewis on the wing. where's ADO in this conversation? Because tonight, he actually, I think, was the one that was picking up for Caleb Love's contributions. He had 10 points on 4 for 9 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a plus 19. Now, there were people coming into this season that said, and I was one of them, to be quite honest with you, that ADO can't play in the Big 12. The ADO is not built for this conference. But Anthony Dell'Orso has shut me up, shut a lot of haters up, and he looks really good. Like he's not a star on this team by any means, but I think he's playing a much bigger and much more quality role than I think a lot of fans expected from him coming into this year. And for that, he gets the tip of the hat for me. And plus, something to watch out for. He took a really hard fall in that second half, was slow to get up, went back to the locker room, did come back in the game with about 13 minutes left and hit a three-pointer immediately. So take that. But yeah, I think ADO deserved the tip of the hat if you're not going to give it to Veesaar or something like that.
Yeah, you gotta love that toughness too. Like you said, coming back into the game, ADO averaging 8.5 points per game right now, which is, like you said, I mean that's all we could ask for out of the guy, right? Like we didn't really need him for much else other than scoring. It's not like he's locking dudes up or getting down there dirty on the boards, but we need him. We need him to hit some shots, and a 43% clip for the range of shots that he's taking, beautiful. We'll take it every single day of the week, Kevin. 43% on 8.5 points per game for Anthony Dell'Orso. Gets Kevin's tip of the hat. Real quick before I get into mine, I want to shout out the chat here. We got Gringo Billy, Anthony Totri, our guy, AZ Future Coach, Bobby Nagel, Tom, of course.
Jolene Ann,
June,
Gilbert, Sean.
Absolutely.
The Durantula after, did the Suns lose officially?
They did.
So the Durantula in our chat after a tough loss is kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie. Like you should be focusing on hitting threes, Kevin Durant. But that's
I'm pretty sure that
that's not KD.
Durantula wants to escape from the hellscape that is the Phoenix Suns season.
Okay. See, I thought you were going to say that's actually not KD, and I was going to be like, oh man, dang. But yeah, continue.
The one I wanted to get to here, the last comment I wanted to get to here, before I give my tip of the hat, Tommy's left nut.
Come on, bro.
What, bro? I can see
you're good.
This is a family program.
You're good. Yeah.
There's nothing nasty there.
His left almond.
It's talking about pistachios.
Yeah.
Tommy's left nut. Henri is a monster dunker. You're not kidding, brother. You are not kidding. Because my tip of the cap goes to you, sir, Henri Veesaar. What an absolute highlight reel he put that man on tonight. Threw him into the freaking stanchion. Took me a second. I had to.
He almost got a little too hyped.
I did almost get a little bit too hyped right there.
That's what Henri Veesaar does to him.
I'll tell you what.
Facts.
When the broadcast isn't live and me and Kevin are sitting there watching that happen live, it's explicit in here. We are screaming. We are yelling.
Yeah.
Henri Veesaar, get out of that man's way when he's going to the basket. Unbelievable. This guy is getting an absolute rider in me, Kevin. Every night I walk out going, I love Henri Veesaar just this much more.
Yeah.
I was under the impression of like, get this dude off my team. He's wasting a scholarship. Hell no. Henri Veesaar is the truth.
What happened to watching his tape and being like, oh, his athleticism?
That's what I'm saying. Like I was hyped for him at first, and then I watched him play, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is just not cut out for this level of basketball. And hand up, thankfully I was wrong. Henri Veesaar is the goddamn man, and I go into every game now pumped about Henri Veesaar. I think this was the last one where I had a little bit of apprehension, Kevin, because of West Virginia's front court and them not having, like great options to mix him up. I was a little bit like, oh, okay, Henri Veesaar has to have a good game tonight because frankly, the lack of competition is like, if he's a legit player, he's going to have to show up and prove that, he's a legit player. I saw enough tonight. Henri Veesaar, we need you, sir, in our starting lineup. You are the best center on this team, the best big man on this team. And I love you, brother.
Tip of the hat to Henri Veesaar. Damon Glass Pergola in the chat has actually a pretty good topic of conversation that he says Veesaar is good at center, but this only happens because of the Krivas injury, which is true. But I also have another question for you, Damon. When Krivas comes back, right? What do you do there?
Well, Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, no, you're all good. While you look that up, I do want to
where Toby Awaka sits. Toby Awaka's a junior. Personally, I think it's been pretty clear from Tommy's standpoint that they expect Krivas back next year. They think Krivas is a big piece of this roster, and I think they have a lot of high hopes for his ceiling. With the way Veesaar is playing, I believe that he'll probably be the penciled-in starter at center next year, going into next season. And I think that kind of leads you to saying that maybe Toby Awaka will be finding a new home next year where he can get real minutes, because a guy like that who's played at Tennessee, who's played at Arizona, he's not going to want to come into to the same situation next year and sit on the bench and give you 8 minutes a game.
Totally agree.
To me, I think the easy makes sense answer is we have a 2-man rotation basically of 3-man really, because you have Emmanuel Stevens as well. I think you go Veesaar, Krivas, Stevens in that order.
Okay.
Going into next season tentatively.
I like that, and I want to run one more thing past you, and I also chat. I need your input on this as well, because this is an all of us thing. This is not just me and Damon thing right now.
We're a team.
Yeah, we're a big old squad.
Blood brothers.
I have a nickname for. I have a nickname for Henri Veesaar, that the ESPN broadcast, right, was talking about how Henri Veesaar...
Oh, I'm going to hate this, I bet.
I don't know, maybe not. Henri Veesaar was talking about how being in West Virginia reminded him more of home than being in Tucson because of the snow and the cold climate, right? Now, meanwhile, Carter Bryant has never seen snow before, apparently. So this is like his first time going out and seeing snow. Now, when they came back from this little vignette or what have you, they called Henri Veesaar the Snowman. I kind of love it.
Henri Veesaar and what's his name? Oh, my God. Put on Jeezy. Henri Veesaar and Jeezy, the Snowmen.
We need a Plies and Henri Veesaar like crossover. We know Plies watches Arizona sports, so we need that. But yeah, I kind of like the Snowman. What does the chat think? Is the Snowman an acceptable nickname for Henri Veesaar? Because the Abominable Snowman, he was acting real abominable when he was dunking dudes into the stanchion. So yeah, I don't know. But I just wanted to run that past you, see what you thought about it.
Yeah, the Snowman's not a bad nickname. My boy Parker, we nicknamed him the Snowman as well. It's pretty hard. I mean, honestly, it really is.
Right?
I'm with it. I thought that I was gonna hate it because I don't know. Just sometimes guys just kind of inside baseball behind closed curtains. Kevin do be saying some pretty cringe stuff every now and again. So I thought that we were about to get some like cringe ass nickname there.
No, none of that.
Scroll up a little bit. I think Rick in the chat there said, if you guys live streamed you watching a game, if we did a watch along, would it be family friendly? No, Rick. We actually could say whatever we wanted on a watch along, because the difference there being this is on our channels that we have through PHNX and All City, and the watch alongs are not streamed on those channels. So if we ever do a watch along, and we will, we're letting it fly. And by we, I mean me.
Him.
I'm letting it fly, brother. When I get that opportunity, I'm taking it and running with it. Yeah, Kevin, great game tonight. I mean, I'm pretty pumped about this Arizona team right now and the ceiling in which they have. Point that got brought up earlier regarding Krivas and kind of how his injury led to Veesaar's extra playing time.
The JDL of it all.
I don't want to say that this exactly. I don't want to say that this is going to help the team, because you obviously would rather have Krivas and you could spell Awaka a little bit and maybe get a little bit more offensive production. But do you foresee a world where that injury actually provides a little bit of clarity to Arizona's roster? And do you think that this kind of raises the ceiling, given that Henri Veesaar just looks like he's on a completely different level than our other big man have this season?
Henry the Hammer. Okay, it's fine. Sorry, I was just trying.
That was a hammer dunk.
Yeah, that was a hammer. He do be hammering. But no, I think that with all due respect to Krivas, I think this speeds up maybe what already would have happened eventually. Like, I think that if Krivas doesn't get injured at the time that he does, right, it probably takes Tommy Lloyd longer to put Veesaar in positions to succeed the way that he has without the injury, right? So I think the injury sped up the development process of a Veesaar, and even to an extent of a Carter Bryant, because there are just more minutes available out there on the team. But I think I don't know if it's as drastic of an impact as the Noah Fafita JDL situation was, where you literally have one quarterback that your ceiling is like an okay good team, but one quarterback takes you to a place where it's like, wow, like they're like the Jeff Fish year that we were just outside of like what would have been where ASU was this year, right? So it's like it's different levels to the same thing, I think, because I think this really does put Arizona in a much better spot ceiling wise because of what a Veesaar can do out there.
Yeah, I'm with
and I
you
think
there.
the injury speeds it up. I think it's like if Fafita and JDL, if that's here, it's under the same umbrella, but it's just one is here and one is there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Trevor Begay asks, back-to-back wins, could we be back in the top 25 AP poll?
They should be.
We're going to get into that right after this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Man, that, Damon, is what you call a transition. And now, if you need a new transmission, you had better go to Sanderson Ford.
Kevin.
Now, PHNX is proud to have Sanderson Ford as our direct and official vehicle sponsor. Sanderson Ford is thankful to have lived and prospered in the Valley for the past 70 years. That's out of there in Glendale. And they're thankful for their 500 employees who take time out of their day to help their customers, making Sanderson Ford America's most awarded Ford dealership. Now, at the end of the day, this is a sports channel, right? What's it all about? Awards. And Sanderson Ford's got those.
Oh, yeah.
Their 65-acre facility makes them the largest Ford dealership in the entire nation, Damon. That is a big deal. When you add up all the sales, including retail and fleet sales, they sell more Fords than anyone else in the nation as well. Sanderson Ford is also America's most awarded Ford dealership for customer satisfaction. And part of that is because of the Starliner Diner, Damon. You want to go get a car?
I love that place.
But then, sometimes this process takes a little bit, so you might get hungry and you don't want to make a decision on an empty stomach, right? So what do? You go get food at the diner. Thank you, Sanderson Ford. They give back as well and donate. They helped us out with the Operation Santa Claus donations this past Christmas. And Sanderson Ford, like I said, is family owned and operated through 3 generations. They thrive on a no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense sales approach. Get a new 2024 F-150 truck with a 3.9 APR financing for 66 months, plus up to $4,000 cash back. Similar savings on over 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot. That's Sanderson Ford, y'all. Check them out.
From the most awarded dealership in the entire state of Arizona to the most awarded casino in the entire state of Arizona, Gila River Resorts and Casinos is going to be your place for your one-stop shop for staycation, just quick little gambling trip with the boys, maybe with the gals, concerts. They got concerts there. They got steakhouses for a nice little date night dinner. They got it all over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. All the options for every different type of pay scale as well, from their cheaper options like a fat burger to their most expensive like a Shula steakhouse. You're going to be covered by our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Of course, check out their 4 locations. That's Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, V-Kiva, and Santan Mountain to check out what the best the Valley has to offer with over 4,500 slots, live table games, all the action on the sports books. You can't go wrong with our friends over at Gila. Kevin, I don't know if you know this about me, but I love gambling. And Gila River Resorts and Casinos, that's the best place to gamble. We got our Suns watch parties there. We have, Cardinals watch parties during that season. Maybe we'll have a U of A watch party show up there at Gila one of these days. You never know. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
And Damon, if you had gone to Gila tonight and thrown any amount of responsible money, it's all relative, however much you feel comfortable gambling, whatever you want to gamble, you should have put it on to Arizona -2.5 or even -3.5, or you could have just been Arizona by 10 plus. But yeah, that's what I was on tonight for those that cared. That did cash. Arizona, good teams win, great teams cover, Damon. And Arizona was a great team tonight.
Absolutely. That is a fact. Great teams cover. And regarding our little top 25 discussion that we teased before the break, Rick notes here that we were 3-4 when we were ranked, 6-1 when we're unranked, and that's a reason we should want to be unranked. I feel you, Rick. I think it's obviously coincidental, but this team doesn't need to be ranked in order to have the ceiling that they do. I think we know that. That being said, there's absolutely not 25 better teams in the country than Arizona basketball. Maybe it was a rough start to the season. We noted that there's a ton of luck factors that were going against them in terms of just losing every close game possible. Seems like the things are starting to, like I mentioned earlier with KJ Lewis and his play, water is really starting to find its level there. Winning a couple close games in Cincinnati and TCU before tonight's blowout. But yeah, we got some games coming up here, Kevin, that I think could push this team into the top 25 poll. Of course, they play UCF coming up here on Saturday, a game in which we'll be doing a post-game show for as well. So you're going to want to make sure that you're locked in here, liking this video, subscribing to this channel, because we're going to be back doing post-games for every Wildcats post-game the rest of the way. UCF, Arizona, ESPN's analytics give Arizona a 92.3% chance to win that game at home. Should be a W. Definitely going to be talking about that one, I think, the rest of the week. Like, kind of, I hate to be this guy, but like more of an assumption that the win is going to happen, because that would be a pretty detrimental loss given UCF's status in the Big 12 and how good they're supposed to be this season. Can't be losing that game at home. Kevin, do you think that this team should be ranked? Do you think they will be ranked?
Should is a tough question, I think, because of the way that Arizona came out of the gate, right?
12th in Ken Palm.
Yeah. I'm getting there, but hold on. Because I'm saying when you start,
I'm going to cut you off at every point.
When you start, you're acting like Bo. But when you start the year at one point, right? I think I forget where Arizona was preseason, but when you come out the way that Arizona did, I think it might scare some AP voters away a little bit to an extent. Like, yes, the numbers are there. Like you said, the Ken Palm numbers are all there. The underlying statistics are all there. But for a while, the eye test was not matching that. And so I think you have to re-earn that good favor with the voters. I think Arizona is by far a top 25 team. I think that Arizona is one of the top 10 teams in the nation. But again, you're going off of resume. It's pretty much a power rankings, right? And so what have you done for me lately? And if Arizona can keep doing things for us, I think that they'll be in there. But I do think there's no way to argue that there's 25 better teams in the country than Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely there isn't. But I feel what you're saying. Like, from a resume standpoint, you can't just go based off of like, well, they've had bad luck against them. It's like, you've done what you've done this season.
Arizona has played 2 really good games back to back.
Correct.
That's kind of the end of the story.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about
that Cincinnati game wasn't perfect. Yeah. Like they almost gave up that lead at one point. So yeah.
So when we're talking about ranking them, they deserve it. But it's just, you got to earn back that good favor when you're preseason, top 15, and then you come out and do what you've done. So
absolutely. Not to mention Cincinnati, like a ranked win, but I think it was Lost Highway even that put it in the chat last episode. Like, Cincinnati, probably not the 16th best team in the country when we played them. Like,
and you and I talked about that.
Good team, hard-nosed team that you don't want to match up against in a tournament team for sure. But especially after that loss to Kansas State. Then losing to us at home as well. I think safe to say Cincinnati's not really top 25 caliber, but definitely still a good win there. West Virginia, on the other hand, I do think they're a top 25 team, but big difference tonight, and we didn't talk about it yet.
How have we not brought this up?
Tucker DeVries not playing, and Tucker DeVries was pretty much the entire reason that West Virginia beat Arizona last time around. That game went to overtime. And Tucker DeVries, I believe he hit 8 3-pointers in that game. Let me check.
Yeah.
8
I think
for
he had
12.
26, right?
8 for 12 from 3, 26 points. Dude just could not miss. And it was one of those games where Arizona fans are just like, need to stop here. Oh, contested 3 from Tucker DeVries. Of course it's in. Like, it just every single possession that, you felt like you were one stop away from really getting the momentum of the game underhand. We talked about it. How much was Tucker DeVries not playing going to be a factor in Arizona's, ability to win this game tonight? And seems like it was pretty clear cut and dry that it played a massive role in that. If you're watching with our friends over on our Samsung channels, our Roku, all of the above, make sure you guys head on over to gophnx.com where the party will continue. Kevin and I are rounding out our discussion here post-game West Virginia W. But Kevin, do you think that Tucker DeVries was it that big of a discrepancy between a 7-point W for West Virginia versus a 19-point loss not having him in the lineup?
Yeah, I think there are a couple main variables too, in particular, as to why the games looked so different. And you and I spoke to that on yesterday's show, right? That this game should not in any way resemble the game that happened in Battle for Atlantis, because the teams are totally different now. If you take away Tucker DeVries, son of Darian DeVries, the coach who has that team rolling, I mean, West Virginia is a great story, regardless of the win or loss against Arizona tonight, because West Virginia has been entertaining all year. Darian DeVries is flexing his muscle as a head coach right now. And his son, Tucker DeVries, is a huge part of that, right? And he was on fire, like as you alluded to, against Arizona in the previous matchup. Removing him, you remove size, you remove scoring, you remove some like athleticism out there as well. And so you just decentralize the entire operation for West Virginia. Now, this is a West Virginia team that I believe beat Kansas without Tucker DeVries, but that does not mean that you can pull that rabbit out of the hat 7 days a week, right? And so
it does mean though that it's still a legit win. Like if they're able to beat Kansas on the road without Tucker DeVries, it's obviously they're still a good team even without him.
I was more so just saying that if you are missing Tucker DeVries, you can't expect that kind of performance every night. You're going to have to make it up in other ways. And I think that the other variable that really made this look so drastically different was the bench of Arizona didn't play like this in the Battle for Atlantis. Henri Veesaar was not the player he was in the Battle for Atlantis. I think that's been
no question.
Those are the two big deals for me tonight. Tucker DeVries being out and then Arizona's bench being in, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Our guy Rick here, I think if you scroll up, he says here after looking at Cincinnati's resume, he doesn't think they're making the tournament.
I agree.
They obviously have played a really weak schedule thus far, but in the Big 12, all you have to do is kind of finish in the middle of the conference, and you should be in. Especially after they went undefeated, I believe, in their non-conference, right? So
yeah, but like last year, they literally went like 4-5 at home in conference. Like they could fall off the cliff.
Oh yeah,
really soon.
But I'm saying that they just got to finish like 8th in conference, and they should be good to go for the tournament. That's pretty much. I think the Big 12 is going to get a ton of teams in this tournament. Remember when people were talking about Arizona not making the tournament? Some very, very hopeful.
I never
ASU
said.
fans.
I'm not in that boat. But I will say I had my worries for sure when Arizona was struggling earlier in this year. I had my worries. I knew that Tommy Lloyd would turn it around, but I didn't know when.
I knew
or
that
how long it would take.
Caleb Love wasn't going to shoot 32% all season long. I mean, he did
tonight,
but that wasn't. That just to me like that was what was going to be the big difference there. Like we're going to get consistent Jaden Bradley, but can our leading scorer show up night in and night out? Didn't tonight, but with the way the team's been playing, haven't needed it as much.
Damon, can I cue you up for a Damon Dog rant?
Sure. We'll see how mad I get about it.
All right, because Rick Barons brings up a great point that you and I were talking about pre-show here. We also have to take into account that the snowstorm made the sold-out crowd look like a Stanford game. And now the announcers, if you were watching on TV, the announcers were almost constantly, anytime West Virginia did something positive, talking about, wow, this crowd is getting into it. Oh, here comes the West Virginia faithful, getting loud, getting raucous. And then, I tweeted out on Twitter that, Arizona did a good job of suffocating that West Virginia crowd after that run. I believe it was Shaz, Arizona fan Shaz, who tweeted me back and said, brother, I don't know what you're hearing, but it's only like 65% full and they are quiet. And so, Damon, I'll let you have the floor, but was the crowd noise real?
No, Kevin, it was not in fact real. I'm ready to put my tinfoil hat on here and say that ESPN was pumping in crowd noise for West Virginia tonight. Kevin and I were talking about it during the game, and I was like, wow, pretty loud in there tonight, huh? Like I felt like the crowd was getting into it. And Kevin goes, been told firsthand that it's not loud in there. I think that what happens here is these media companies, they get arenas and stadiums in the South and in the Midwest, and they have to prop them up and tell you how great that the fans are there. So what they end up doing is amplifying the crowd noise and start telling us how great West Virginia fans are. And I'll tell you what, Kevin, we were talking about it a little bit off air. When you're watching an Arizona game at McHale, that is no way that is the scale to which it is, loud in there versus a West Virginia game at 65% capacity. Because when they're like, wow, the fans are really getting into it here in McHale, you can like barely hear anything.
Yeah.
And I think that there are clear agendas being driven here by ESPN. I think that they want to, make it where teams like, oh, Kentucky fans are the best in the country. Duke fans can't be beat. Ohio State fans are awesome. Like I know for a fact that's what they're doing. So I'm sick of it, and I just want to kind of enlighten the world to these conspiracies that are going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to give you the platform to speak power to truth and just really say
I did have to speak my truth.
Yeah, you really had to speak to your personal experience, right? Bro, the thing about McHale is you're right on the money because, like, you ever been to a party and it's bopping inside. Like it's loud, right? But on the outside, it's just like boom, 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 boom. Like it's kind of quiet. Like you can kind of hear a bass, maybe some, you know what I mean? That's how it is when ESPN broadcasts these McHale games, right? Because it sounds like you're on the outside of the party when you're actually in the party. It's insane because we know McHale gets louder than I mean, I haven't been in every college arena, but I'm sure that McHale is one of the loudest arenas in college basketball. And so to have it sound like I'm outside the club when I'm in the club is unacceptable. We got to fix that.
Yeah. They're definitely siphoning out a little bit of our noise and like pumping it straight into, you know, the Floridas of the world. Like I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the SEC bias, the Big Ten bias. The Big 12 is the most real basketball conference in the country with the best fan bases.
It's the best.
Not even close. And Arizona fans are up there with the absolute best of them in this conference. And you know what? I don't want their crowd noise. I don't want their amplification, Kevin. That doesn't.
We don't need it.
No.
We don't need it because it's really loud in real life.
In the actual arena, it's loud.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really fun performance tonight from Arizona. We're going to talk more about UCF the rest of the week and you know, kind of what they're like as a roster, what the Golden Knights bring to the table. Did you know Mikey Williams was on UCF?
Like currently on UCF?
Yeah. Mikey Williams, former 5-star recruit of legal trouble fame, only played 3 games for the Golden Knights this season, averaging 1.3 points per game, which seems extremely low for his caliber of talent on a UCF caliber of team. But they also have a Curry on their team, so you know that guy can shoot 35% from 3.
Like Eddie Curry?
His name's Jordan Ivy Curry.
Oh, that's a sick name.
Isn't that?
That's just a sick name. That's like a celebrity name.
Just ball players all throughout the...
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Jaden Ivey, Steph Curry. They also have J.J. Taylor, former Arizona Wildcats running back.
I was about to say that's a running back. Yeah.
So some interesting little players there and tidbits on that UCF roster. Kevin, before we get out of here, anything else
I was just actually about to ask you one more thing, because as the fans know, as if you watched last show, Damon and I want to try to incorporate the Hall of Names, the name game Hall of Fame, whatever you want to call it. Hall of Names. Do we have any entrances tonight? Some candidates might be Amon Hansberry, Javon Small, Sincere Harris.
Sincere's a good name, but I don't know if it's good enough.
It's also not spelt like the actual word sincere, which I think kind of docks some points for the crazy name of it all.
Yeah. Did you see this name that came across my timeline the other day? That it's kind of been going nuts. Guy for Arkansas Pine Bluff.
This is
guard, 6'8". Did you see this at all?
Probably not. Maybe.
He is. So Kevin, by the way, let me just check his game log real quick. I guess he's only played in 2 games.
Check the logs.
He's averaging 32.5 points per game right now on 65% shooting from the field. This guy. So
this guy has a name, and it is.
He might be the fucking truth. 35 and 30 in his games. I think I can say that now that we're off fast. But
maybe
his name, Dr. Bradley.
Yes.
Add him to the list.
Yes.
Dr. Bradley.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
To the Hall of Names.
Yes.
Yeah. Jizzle James is on the list. Rick. Jizzle James in the Hall of Names.
Well, we should get like a little full screen graphic at some point.
Oh yeah,
and the list of names.
Eventually, just like zoom it out. It's like one of those. It's gonna end up looking like like when
like a CVS receipt.
Yeah, I was gonna say like when they do those like murals that are like smaller murals.
Yes.
In it. It's like you're just gonna keep zooming out. We're gonna make pictures out of all the names that we have on this list. But we got Jizzle James, we got Dr. Bradley, we got CMOS Lacocious.
Who is that guy that someone said in the chat the other day? Oh, I'm forgetting his name, but there was someone there. Yes, Rick. Yes, that is yeah. Maybe not gonna make the list due to some rules, but yeah, that name is.
We'll let Kevin put that name on the list.
Yeah.
That's gonna do it for us here at the AZ Wildcats podcast. I, of course, am Damon Dog, Damon DAWG on Twitter. My boy Kevin Kevo posts on Twitter. That's KEVOPOSTS. Make sure you follow our beat account at PHNX_Wildcats.
17 wins, AZ future coach.
Yeah, got you. Shout out the whole chat today. It was popping. We appreciate you guys. Genuinely, you guys are like family to us. I don't mean to get all deep, but like I would die for each and every one of you in that chat tonight. Not to get deep on you here there, Kevin. Yeah. Good little win for the Cats. Not a whole lot of doubt in mind there. Good to get a nice, easy, clean dub in the Big 12 Conference, especially on the road. And of course, we're going to be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. So make sure you are there, you are square, and you are ready to go, because we're going to be talking some football transfer portal news as well as a little bit of UCF preview. You're not going to want to miss it on the AZ Wildcats podcast. We'll see you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.